All right, and 3, 2, 1, and we are live. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Dardish show. I'm so excited for the episode today. It's all about art, creativity. I didn't even meet our guest today. Welcome, Dalal Al Nafisi. It was the first time we meet today.
I know.
How are you?
Good.
Good. You're here with your son, Badr.
Yes.
Badr's in the background playing with the cats. Welcome to the Dardish show, a place to sit back, relax, and enjoy a good conversation. So let's just jump right into it. Can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm basically a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 kids, and I am extremely passionate about a lot of global issues, and I love art. And I feel like I studied interior architecture and worked in interior architecture for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But the older I got, the more I felt that the consumerist lifestyle was not really satisfying, and it's not something that I want to be a part of or contribute to. So seeing my kids grow up, I wanted to be giving them a great opportunity to kind of use creativity to help change the world and kind of be activist children. So I think I changed my path, my whole career, and shut down my company and decided to start something that makes me live this daily. So I get to create and be around a lot of interesting people and do small things that could possibly help other people other than ourselves in our privileged communities. Yeah.
I love that. So can you tell me more about the global issues that you're tackling or you're interested in?
I think what I'm interested in a lot, obviously, is the education of children and the safety and well-being of children. And I believe that that's one of my focuses in the past few years. It was intentional, but it just kept getting, I just kept pushing forth and trying to do more.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that even if I don't believe necessarily in the education system per se, I still believe that kids all need that social aspect of school. They need that access to education only because at the end of the day we all have to conform in order for us to have jobs, in order for us to actually get certificates and degrees and move on and have an income for our families. So it's more about sustaining your living, and so that's why they do need an education. But it's a very controversial issue.
Oh, yeah.
I also do care a lot about the environment, and it bothers me to my core when I see things being done incorrectly. So a lot of what we do in Manifesto tries to kind of remind people that small steps really do make a difference, and recycling and things like that, and reusing things and making them more interesting, and not thinking that everything new is actually better than what's old.
I like that. Not thinking that everything new is actually better than what's old. So what exactly do you guys do in Manifesto? So it seems like you guys are literally changing the world, right? Like, I thought it was just a place for art and creativity, but now you're saying that there's recycling. No? Badr is like...
I think what is the essential core of Manifesto is art really encompasses everything. It's creativity on all levels. It's not just and it's also consciousness. It's consciousness on deeper levels. So once you become a conscious being, you have to become ethical, you have to become aware, you have to give back to society, and you need to feel some sense of responsibility. And I think that's where the challenge comes, because a lot of the world today, I mean, at least our part of the world, doesn't see art that way, but that's essentially what it is. And we believe that through art and through creativity, all of these topics can be brought up and they can be magnified and put out there into the world, and you can make people change the way they see things. And we've seen magic with children, just the way they kind of have that 2 hours to talk about something that they've never had a chance to talk about in school or at home, because there's homework, which should not exist. And
So why do you think homework shouldn't exist?
Because children need that space, they need that time to think, they need time to be bored, to be creative. And we tend to see this the perfect parents that try to fill their kids, with activities and things. And we are essentially an activity, right? So they're signing them up for art classes. But what we would like to provide is 2 hours with no technology, with no structured activity, where kids can actually come in and maybe today they don't want to do anything. They just want to read. Maybe they want to talk a little bit more about the issue that we're bringing up. It's not extremely structured so that they can learn to explore. So homework, going back to homework, it takes away from that time. It takes away from the ability to disconnect from what they had a full day of already. And they need space between after school to bedtime to just think. And there's so much research out there that shows you how important it is for kids to disconnect from school after school, to not have more than at least, okay, if you want homework, 20 minutes, it should not be more than that. I see kids at my son's age, or 6 years old, younger than my son, who spend 2-3 hours doing homework and studying, and it's insane. And it's so bad for children.
That's amazing. I mean, especially the fact that it said it's necessary for people to feel bored sometimes, because it does inject that creativity. So what topics do you guys actually cover with kids? I'm curious.
So the idea is, if we talk about art history, and we choose an artist a week, each artist comes from a different background, a different nationality, a different school of thought. When we start talking about the artist's work, it's not really necessary for them to at all copy or believe in the work itself. It's nice to be aware of its existence, but the beauty is every important artist in history had a mini revolution of sorts. It could be non-conforming, to not being a non-conformist, not doing something that's not typically what that period was doing, and therefore being an inventor of some sorts. And these topics bring about other topics. For example, was this artist isolated? What did this isolation do to his feelings or emotions? And was he a refugee, for example? What is a refugee? So once you start taking your time to talk about a story, you really can open up, just like reading a book. It's like opening up so many topics and allowing the questions to flow and answering them, and maybe not even knowing the answer and saying, well, I don't know, let's find out. Just so that they understand that there's so much out there. A lot of people made a lot of mistakes that we can learn from. A lot of inventions were made from mistakes, or so these are the kinds of things that we cover when it comes to our art foundation classes. Now, there's the sensory experience also as well, and there's unbreaking rules.
Nice. Your kids must be really lucky.
Oh, I know they're happy. They don't want to leave. But I think the kids find it easy. It's the adults that don't find it easy. It's in our nature as human beings to be able to let go and have a good time, and not just like enjoy the process. Whereas the adults would like the results, and they don't enjoy the process, you know. And sometimes that's where we run into trouble, because we try to explain that the process is much more important than the result. And so that's what makes us different from other places. Your kid might come out with a painting that has his, you know, nothing on, just like a piece of paper that has like a scribble on it or something, but it meant something to that child through that learning process. It could have taken 100 pieces of paper to get to that scribble, and it's important. So it's really hard to communicate each child's story and what happened during the 2 hours, but they're so beautiful, and what comes out of each class is just very special.
Wow. That's amazing. Some parents are very not as receptive as kids maybe when it comes to change. So what do you think about that when parents come and drop their kids over and they maybe walk into Manifesto and see everything that's going inside?
Okay, the biggest example is, the most recent example, let's say. We had a class in our Art Foundation program, and the kids spent 2 hours talking about their souls, okay? And it was so, because they were studying Vasily Kandinsky. So they talked about music, and they talked about synesthesia, and they talked about how color and music go hand in hand, and they listened to this most beautiful music during the process. But all they had to do was color a circle, and that had to represent their soul, because it was connected to this lesson of Kandinsky. And if anybody came into the classroom at the end, and I've seen the faces of some parents who don't ask what the meaning is or what happened, it's almost like, oh my God, I didn't bring you in here and spend this money for you to color a circle for 2 hours. But if you just listen to what they say, so I go to one of the kids who's not necessarily like quote unquote deep, showed me his piece, and he's like, and there was like a black scribble in the middle, and there was red and yellow, and I said, okay, so tell me a little bit more about your piece. And it literally takes 3 minutes to just ask a question and get this beautiful answer that will change you forever, because you can't forget it. And he goes, this dark spot is the darkness in my soul, and all of this, the yellow is like, I think it was yellow or red or something, was all the anger and the pressure that I get from the outside world. And this is like a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or like whatever, between 8 and 11. If somebody says that, it's just so amazing.
Thanks, man. I bet. I mean, I got goosebumps just thinking about that. That's amazing.
Couldn't. And then there was a kid that would tell me, I have a lot of anxiety because of all the pressure. And all of this was in one circle they had to color with oil pastels. And just the fact that they had these 2 hours to reflect and discuss, and just the result is not really the most important part. It was the journey. It was that exploration. You know, it was just such, that's the kind of magic, like we always post about the magic that happens in the studio now. And it's because, I mean, I wish we can capture it, honestly. It's just so hard. But it's beautiful.
So do you think that everyone is an artist?
I think everyone is an artist, yes. I do believe that. I believe we are born with all the same kind of base, and I believe that the misconception is that art is something that has to be pretty or beautiful or perfect or right. There's no right answer. It's self-expression, whether it's ugly to you and it's beautiful to me, or even ugly to me, but it's out there and I took 5 minutes to do it, or 10 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. It is something that came from inside me, and it doesn't matter what it is. But that's creativity in art. And it's, you know, I mean, I think the only issue that we have as human beings is that we stop ourselves, we edit ourselves, and because of the education system, because we learn that there are right and wrong answers and that we have to always be right. And so it becomes this embedded fear of making mistakes. So we don't, I mean, I've went through periods where I don't want to draw something because I'm scared of doing something that's going to disappoint me or make me upset that this is not the result, or that I'm not at the same point I was like a year ago, you know? So it's, I mean, all creatives go through that, and that's the adult in us. And I think the child is always able, but the adult takes over, and we have to get rid of that adult voice that judges, and we can all create.
So as an artist, I'd like to know, like, do you guys do classes for adults or parents, or parents and kids together? Can you tell me more about the classes and the dynamics?
Okay, so we have adult classes, but the adult classes are different. So we have currently, for example, we'll have like oil pastel classes. We had an amazing sculpture class for adults by a well-known artist who I love dearly, and Ustad Abdul Mu'in, and he's just fantastic. Now, these are master classes, so you're going in and you're going to listen to his rules, and it's going to be his way or the highway. But you learn so much from being around artists. I feel like right now, for example, we have a resident artist, and we're so excited because we're trying to create more adult classes. The kids' classes in the morning are for parents and child. They're toddler classes, so the moms can come in with their babies and they can draw and paint and do whatever they want. And the afternoon chunk is mostly reserved for after school kids and teenagers. And we have music classes, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
We have a school of rock.
Yes. What? Is that a movie?
Yes. It's my dream.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. So tell me more about the music.
So recently we launched, this year, just like in January, February, we launched the music program. And again, we're an unschool, right? So we don't, it's a very different way of teaching music. Because of my children, again, I noticed that classical training is very, sometimes not for everyone. And it could get tedious, and it could get they kind of get disheartened by the experience. So along with my husband, who's a music producer, Riyad Al-Gabandi, I decided
shout out to Riyad Al-Gabandi.
We decided to start this program, and what we teach: bass, electric guitar, keyboards, drums, and vocals, mixing, mastering. And so it's for all ages.
I'm interested. I mean, a lot of people are trying to tackle the education system, you know, and how can we keep the spark alive in our kids and ourselves? Because I think even the teachers, I mean, it's pretty tricky for you to change the education system. I mean, if you could change the education system, how would you do it, and where would you start?
Oh my God, that's a big question.
Let's start.
So honestly, I've considered homeschooling so many times, but I probably would fight with my kids every day if I had to homeschool them, and I'm not. I know, I'm a good mom, right? No, but I think what's interesting is, I don't think the solution is homeschooling, because I think that isolates kids from the community. But there's, for example, an amazing school that I was introduced to by Noura Qasim, who's a beautiful, amazing singer, by the way, and she's our manager in Manifesto now, thank goodness.
She used to be in a band with my dad.
Yes, she used to be in a band with my husband, that's correct. So it's called Green School Bali, and everything is sustainable. It's built from bamboo, all the blackboards, and everything is just made from recycled materials. And it's just, and they teach kids how to use their hands, how to grow things, how to, grow vegetables and then use them to cook with them. And it's just, we live in a world that is full of plastic and concrete and so many things that are killing this environment and this earth. So in an ideal situation, I would love for my children to be in a school that taught them everything from, building their own furniture to growing their own food to, going and swimming with dolphins, or like something
Getting our
that
hands
exposes
dirty.
them
Yes.
to what the earth is all about. I think the current education system is archaic. It's so outdated, and it is not made for today's generation and today's world. We try to show in that giving back to the world doesn't necessarily have to be with money or time, like community service, or how it's giving back with creativity to bring a voice to things that were really not even thought of or not even discussed, So
I like that.
for example, we could talk about who should we pick?
I like how you said, asking kids about a soul and just hearing about what they thought about those topics. And seriously, I would love to hear those. And I think those moments, because kids are brutally honest.
Yeah.
صح.
عجيبين. I mean, that's what Hadley, it gives me energy every day. It's the kids. I just look forward to hearing what they have to say.
Wow. And do you teach the classes?
Yeah, I've been teaching a lot of the classes, most of the classes for the past 4.5 years, but I'm happy to say that we have recruited an amazing team. So I have teachers on board now, but honestly, they're way better than me. I mean, I love them because it's just it's building on all of our knowledge together. And in the past 5 years, I've managed to kind of create this curriculum that works, and getting perspective also from younger people who are in our team, who are like-minded. We were able to create such an amazing curriculum that's like completely in-house, completely just fresh and full of things that have just worked right in the past few years. They've just and adding more to that. So I'm very thankful for where we are today. And so I don't teach right now, and I'm very happy that I have the time off so I can spend time with these little monsters.
Why Manifesto 13?
The name, why? لأن I'm against branding, and I'm against kind of all the stuff that comes with creating an image and whatever. So when I was trying to figure out what our name is, I had a whole list of things that I didn't want and a whole list of things that I did want, and so it became almost like a manifesto. It was a manifesto. It was like, you have to be this, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and it became our manifesto. So we have a manifesto, and it has all of our beliefs, and then I was in charge of the renovation of that building, the old building that we're in, Hawali, Markaz al-Mulla. And this shop, I had seen it years before I actually started the program. But I was supposed to renovate that shop and make it into tiny little mobile stores. But I refused to do it. And I battled to keep it as it is because it had like so much potential to be a nice working space, like a studio. And I didn't even think I was going to take it.
Really?
But, when I just decided to jump in and open up a studio, I thought that's it. So it was actually one of those places, the whole neighborhood's like, oh, you took that shop has bad luck.
What the hell?
Yes.
No way.
Wallah. And I don't know if it's like because they know it's number 13. But they said that every store that opened there shut down, and there was a fire there.
Wow.
The last person who left, there was a fire. And I mean, it took a lot of cleaning up to get the place looking like it is. But it was, well, I mean, we're fine, going on 5 years, knock on wood, we're okay. No bad luck. So it was the shock number, honestly. That's it.
That's amazing. I like that. And I like the fact that you break rules. You know, like when you said that one of our there are things I should do, there are things I shouldn't do when it comes to branding, when it comes to all of those things. But I think that you guys are already branding, whether you guys... I think branding is a feeling when they think of Manifesto 13.
Is there a feeling? I think that people tell me there's a feeling, and I love that people see that. But I mean, we're still figuring it out. Well, honestly, telling you like openly, we're still figuring it out. I'm not sure where it's gonna go, and we're always open to change and getting other people's opinions. I'm very open about that, and I like kind of flowing. So
yeah, I think it's very important as a business owner to be that flexible, honestly. And it's
you think so? A lot of people think that's just like really bad business sense.
Oh hell no!
But
oh hell no! As long as you're impacting lives, which is the most important part, it doesn't matter how.
I know. I mean,
whether
I
it's
would
through
love
music,
for it to be prettier, but I mean, now what the team is doing is fantastic to me. Honestly, like there's between Vart and Amar and Noura, it's just wonderful the shifting that's happening in our social media. And it's because they're so smart. Like they're just, I mean, hire people that are way smarter than you.
Amen.
And, yeah, so they're all extremely smart, and I love them so much. I'm very lucky to have them. One thing I didn't tell you though is part of the inspiration is also Sir Ken Robinson. So have you heard of Sir Ken Robinson? Okay, so he is a life changer for me, because making that switch from a interior architecture all the way, that Nintendo Switch, it was a very hard decision, but it had a lot to do with what was going on with my eldest daughter in school.
Wow.
This kid is extremely talented. She never stopped drawing, she never stopped singing, she never stopped performing, and yet school was not really
her thing,
working out, or not working out. I mean, she didn't focus as much, or she didn't pay attention. So I thought there was something wrong. I mean, I had to do something, and my friends introduced me to a TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson.
I know Ken Robinson, the English dude. He's hilarious. Talks about education and movement and love. Yes.
And he changed everything for me. Everything.
Wow. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, if I could really meet one person, Suj, I think I would be him, because I keep on going back to referring to him. لأن that's essentially one of the biggest influencers on the starting of Manifesto. Creativity is so gone in schools, and the turning point for me was, I'm not going to say what school, but my daughter was going into 6th grade. She was going into middle school, and we had an orientation, parent orientation, and it was amazing, because the first most important thing they have to teach them is how to open and close lockers. So that's like okay, wow, that's a shift into middle school, and then the parents have to know what's going to happen and how the classes are going to go, and I don't like those meetings at all. But one of the things that they said was, we are taking away all music and all art classes for 6th grade, because we are doubling our language classes so that we can have better scores in our standardized map testing in the world, in the world standard. So when that was brought up, I was furious. I went crazy, and I asked the question to the principal who was saying that, and I was like, don't you think it's really a bad idea to remove all kinds of creative outlets for our children? And he said, well, social studies could be creative. And all the parents were looking at me like, why are you so angry? What's going on?
Oh my God.
So I was just like, no, don't you see that there's something wrong? That's just wrong. It's not right. And I could not sleep for days, because one of the biggest reasons I chose that school is for the arts and for the music. And you cannot tell a child that once they turn, into middle school, khalas, things are going to get serious. You're going to only study. You're not going to do anything else. And music and art have to take a back seat. What? If anything, this is when they need it the most. And it just made me so determined to literally overnight shut it down and start this. I just dove in, honestly, and never even, and in the first 2 months, I felt like, that show, Faking It?
No.
Okay, so like you learn how to do something in 3 weeks and you do it. That's how I felt. Even though I had researched it for so long, it's been my dream to do this program for so long. I've had purchased curriculums and studied them for so long, but it was hard for me to say, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing this completely insane thing where it's not a typical art program, and you're gonna pay me to do it. It was so hard for me, and I felt like I'm faking it, but slowly I realized that there are amazing people who believe in unschooling, and they believe in this, and they understand the importance of creativity. And through the encouragement of parents, I started getting more in my skin and more like confident to make it even more intense and push forward with my ideas and not be scared. So it's not, I mean, وايد أقرق.
That's beautiful.
وايد أقرق. I'm sorry.
I think that meeting was a blessing. It was the reason Manifesto was born.
Yeah.
That anger, that frustration that kept you up at night made you make that crazy leap and crazy decision. صراحة ما تقرقين وايد كلش. I love everything you're talking about, and I swear to God, if I have kids one day, they'll definitely come to your school, your manifesto, your movement, because I think you're changing lives.
Thank you.
I'm not just saying this. I think that you're really changing lives because when you're able to help, when you're able to make kids express themselves in a way where they feel constrained and just not able to do that, you're able to bring this art to this world, bring this change to this world, which I think is very, very powerful, and I think you should own it. I think you should really not push it back and own it, because every child that comes to your class, whether it's one class or 10, they leave different. Yeah,
I believe it. I've seen people change, but I didn't even, the practical thing that I love as well, and I didn't tell you about, is that these kids at the end of each term find a way to give back to society, whether they raise money through their art and give it back to an organization that we deal with, like Beit Yasmin Refugee School or Al Hilal Al Ahmar for education of children. We've worked with a lot of organizations like that, and that's so it's cool. Amazing that they get to feel that, that giving back, the physical giving back as well, is important. And I mean, I do believe it makes them, they'll never forget it. That they take that money and they hand it over to an organization and say, this is going to help a kid go to school. That's just a powerful feeling. I was lucky to have that as a child, because my parents were always activists and always putting us in situations to be raising money حق فلسطين, or selling our toys, or making something, or braiding hair, or bracelets, or whatever. So we had a lot of exposure to that. ومو كل من عنده exposure. So I feel like that's essentially what also changes them. I say essentially a lot.
You were
وايد قاعدة أقول essentially.
It's interesting how you were raised in such an environment that really embedded these qualities in you. صراحة. Bedr, تعال, I want to ask you a couple of questions before we end the show.
Come here.
How's it going, man? Look, can you see the camera? It's right there. That's you right there. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. What is love to you, man?
Love to me is just something that you enjoy doing a lot. Like sometimes it can be your hobby, your passion, and sometimes that can go far, like my mom, and a love for art.
What about love for my children?
What's one thing you'd like to tell your mom?
That
You could look at me and say it, it's fine.
Give me back my Switch. No.
You can do it, you can do it. You shy?
a little.
A little?
Yeah.
But I know you can do it.
What I want to say is that my mom has made a giant progress, like starting from like just a little room all the way to like a whole, almost like a company.
Wow. You saw the entire progress, huh?
Yeah, we have the whole floor now.
Like there used to be just like one room. Then now there's like 5 rooms. There's new classes, new teachers.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Aww.
Thank you so much, Bador. Thank you so much. Wallah, you're amazing, man. Wallah, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much for
Thank
being here.
you.
Dalal, you are amazing. Wallah al-azim. The
Thank
things you
you
are
so
doing,
much.
the people you're impacting. Please keep being amazing.
It's very small, but any change really helps. Every change helps. And thank you so much for
Exactly.
having me. I love talking to you. We should do this more often.
Of course, we should. It was really cool. So this is your camera, and if you have a message that you'd like to send to the world, just say 30 seconds, 1 minute. Simple, pretty simple. We spoke about a lot of things today. Just go for it.
Oh, message to the world. I would say stop using plastic. Stop being afraid to say that you have the need to create. Keep drawing. Even if you think it looks bad, just doesn't matter. Stop judging yourself. Don't conform.
And don't let other people judge you.
And don't let kids do homework.
Yes, Mama.
And
Yes.
let your kids be themselves. Punish them if you have to.
No, never do that. Guys, never do that.
I just think that, you know what I really want to say? I want to say that kindness and emotions are lacking in this country. I feel like there's so much وايد ناس معصبين, وايد ناس زعلانين, وايد ناس are just constantly struggling to go through the day. And I think that if you just be grateful for what you have, be grateful for just being, and give back to one person every day, even by smiling, that's enough. That's really would change a lot.
Guys, on that note, amazing show. Thank you so much again, Dalal Bador. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. Seriously, be kind, give back, even if it's just a smile. Express yourself, draw. Don't give your kids homework, and take care, guys. And we'll see you soon.
Gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time and I came to groove. The whole band's here and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. I'm coming out the jacket cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now. Baby, watch out now. Watch out. I'm on the move, I'm going up. I'm a man on a mission with no missions, and I'm looking for love. Oh, I'm just looking for love. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good.
Watch out now.
Cause baby, I feel real good, and I wish I would.
Watch out now.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good, baby.
Watch out now.
Everybody watch out. Last call for some alcohol. And don't forget to tip. The sun went down, but we still rolling. The band's still going, playing all the hits. I can't stop now, too legit to quit. I'm coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out. I'm on the move, I'm going up. I'm a man on a mission with no missions, and I'm looking for love. Oh, I'm just looking for love. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good.
Watch out now.
Cause baby, I feel real good, and I wish I would.
Watch out now.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good,
Watch out
baby.
now.
Everybody watch out.
Watch out now.
Everybody watch out.
Watch out now.
Watch out.